Welcome, everyone, to Dinging Corners, a baseball podcast powered by SlabStox. I am Nate, here with Jimbo.
What's up, everybody?
And we are ready to talk some baseball. So if you are listening to this on podcast, just know that we also have this on YouTube. You can find it at SlabStox YouTube channel. And you will be able to find Dinging Corners every, I believe, Saturday. I believe the podcast goes out on Friday, but the video goes out on Saturday to ease up on the amount of videos that are going out every day on our YouTube channel. That being said, we've got a number of interesting topics today, or interesting guys, a couple of call-ups to talk about. One, we will compare to another guy on his team, and then also we have an interesting prospect to talk about at the very end. So, Jimbo, without further ado, let's get into it today.
Let's do it.
And I want to start with probably the bigger of the two call-ups, and that is Henry Davis. So obviously Henry Davis was the first overall pick in 2021, maybe a little bit of a head-scratcher to some people, but they saved some money, and they went on, and I'm pretty sure that was 2021. They signed your guy, Bubba Thompson? No. Your pitcher outfielder guy you liked.
Oh, yeah. Bubba Chandler.
Bubba Chandler, thank you. So they signed, I believe Bubba Chandler was the same draft as Henry Davis, save some money there, be able to sign Bubba Chandler. And so it was a little bit of a head scratcher at the time. And then last year, in his first, what I would consider full season of baseball, he was pretty good. He was pretty good in A-ball and high A, but then he got called up to double A for 30 games, and the numbers just weren't there. 97 WRC plus, but of course, if you look a little closer, 244 BABIP, that was probably going to go up. The walk rate, the strikeout rate were fine at 8%. Oh, wait, I can share this. Sorry, everyone. I can actually share what I'm looking at, which I should. So give me 1 second. So we've got Henry Davis's stats here, and you can see I'll highlight his 2022 double A here. This stat, 207, 324, 379, that wasn't great, but he just wasn't getting to power, and his BABIP was low. You up that BABIP to what he would normally run, 311, 391 this year, and all of a sudden it looks much, much better. So if you looked at that and you said, well, he's going to bounce back, and you made a bet on him, you were right, because he did bounce back in double A. He killed it this year, 17% walk, 18% strikeout, 284 average, 433 on base, 547 slugging, 165 WRC plus. And then he got a small 10-game cup of tea in AAA, where he hit 286, 432, 514 with a 142 WRC plus. And that meant that the Pirates decided that they were going to call him up to the majors, which is beautiful because, Jimbo, the last two major call-ups in the NL Central happened the day after the Brewers left town. Ellie De La Cruz got called up by the Reds after a 4-game series in which they lost 3 to the Brewers. And then the Pirates called up Henry Davis after getting swept by the Brewers.
Yeah. One thing with Henry Davis last year, I remember he had an injury, like a wrist injury. So I wonder how much that played into that. I know it was early in the season. I wonder if his high A stats were probably when he was healthy and he was doing well, probably came back, probably had him play a few games there and then brought him to double A, or they brought him up to double A and he got hurt and then did that because it was a wrist. Man, wrist injuries are
power.
Yeah.
And you can see, you obviously a raise in level, but you can see the power. 244 isolated to 172 ISO.
Yep. That's injuries. Injuries are so interesting too, like figuring out what the actual injury was and how that affects the numbers, like what category will it affect.
Yeah. And wrist. I've known wrists are a big deal since Ricky Weeks broke his wrist swinging a bat, and he just was never the same afterwards. Ricky Weeks was so good for a few years. But he's been called up to the MLB. He has a double. But otherwise only played 2 games. We are recording this Wednesday afternoon-ish, noon-ish. So there will be, Wednesday day games that we don't know stats of yet. There will be Thursday, like maybe sometimes they have an off day, but there could be a Thursday game for the Pirates that we don't know stats of yet before you are potentially listening to this on Friday or watching this on Saturday. So just keep in mind that the stats we're looking at could either look significantly better in the next couple days or significantly worse, one way or the other. But he did get called up after a dominant year. The Pirates obviously trying to hold on to being around first place. They lost quite a few in a row and dropped like 3 games below 500. So obviously they want to do what they can to keep that. Now, price-wise, there has actually been some movement in his card market. I grabbed a refractor PSA 10. Let me see if I can. I think it's this one. Yeah, that works. So Henry Davis Bowman Chrome Auto number to 499. Because I saw a refractor just sold on Tuesday the 20th. We're recording this on the 21st again. So a refractor sold for $210. And I was like, okay, I wonder, what do we got going on here? 210 again, 225 on the 19th, 235 called up the 19th, 200 on the 19th. That was probably there and listed. So then you go down PSA 9 with a 9 auto, $200. So that's a bit of a raise. Obviously, just raw PSA 9 to raw, there should be a little bit of a boost in PSA 9, and that's $10 less at least. But then you go even farther into May, 150 for a BGS 8.5, 175 for a raw on May 16th, PSA 10 300, PSA 10 250 May 8th, and then you have a final PSA 10 in May of 225. So obviously a couple of good stats in May rose this AAA call up and everything, but then even more so getting called up to the majors has increased his prices, because if a raw is $210 and a PSA 10 just sold almost 2 months ago for 225, PSA 10 today would be what, 400? I guess I could probably click on this and find out. Let's oh wait, clicked on the wrong tab. If I click on this, card letter value of 209, I don't believe that. Let me
I wonder how many, because I'm sure a lot of people graded these.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on with that card letter grade. That probably isn't too accurate. Okay, so usually card letter expected value is pretty good. I don't know why that's not giving me, because like raw in March was 100.
Oh, geez.
A PSA 9 was 117. But I don't have a PSA 10 price. The closest PSA 10 is 225. Needless to say, I think it has gone up, even if card ladder expected value does not agree with me.
Question for you. Can you pull up Will Smith with the Dodgers, what his refractor Bowman auto does? I'm very curious to see the comparison on the two.
Yes, sir. Let me
because he's having a phenomenal year.
Yeah, Will Smith has been good for a number of years. Let me share this. Is that Will Smith? Is it this one? Nope, that's the Yanquiel. Grab the wrong one. It doesn't tell me who it is when I'm looking at the tab to be able to share. So, nope, that's Gavin Williams. I guess the wrong one again. Well, there's only 3, so I should be able to. Oh my goodness. I chose the wrong one again. Okay. 4th time's the charm. I can do this. You
can do it.
All right, we did it. Will Smith. It's the window's so small on the screen share thing, I can't see what it says on the whatchamacallit, so then I'm just trying to look at the pictures and guess. So we finally made it to the Will Smith tab I have up on my computer. Will Smith Bowman Chrome Auto number to 499 PSA 10, June 3rd, $224. So obviously this is a bit ago, but he's been really good for a number of years, and his PSA 10 is $15 more than Henry Davis's raw auto sold for. Now, obviously, Henry has the benefit of being the number 1 overall pick,
Yeah.
That will always carry, even if he's not Adley Rushman level of excitement, he's still the number one overall pick. But the fact that, I'm glad you bring this up, the fact that Will Smith's last Bowman Chrome Refractor auto number 499 PSA 10 sold in June for $225, and Henry Davis's is selling for what it is right now, shocking.
Yeah. And the reason why this one's very interesting, because they both went to Louisville. Henry Davis replaced Will Smith, both first round picks, I believe. I remember I'm pretty sure Will Smith was a first rounder. But regardless, highly rated prospect. And Will Smith has been great for multiple years. And this year he's been crushing it. He's a big part of that offense at the Dodgers. And instantly when we brought up the Henry Davis prices, my first
32nd pick.
30. So perfect. Yeah. So my first thought process was, okay, how do the prices compare? And it's very interesting. So you can get a PSA 10 Will Smith 225. I think that's kind of crazy.
Now, do you think some of this, I go back to the idea that if you have too many stars in your team, sometimes you're just not going to get, I do think that a lot of the local market carries a lot of prices for people, right? Colt Keith prices are high. I'd say, I don't have actual percentages, but I'd say a high percentage of the reason Colt Keith's prices are high, or whoever you want to choose, is because of Tigers fans collecting them, not just random people collecting cards. They're the ones that want them, driving up the price for people trying to flip them, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, if you have a team full of stars, and the Dodgers don't necessarily have as many stars anymore. Gone are the Corey Seagers, gone are the Trey Turners, gone are the Justin Turners, gone are the Cody Bellingers of the world, but they still have the Mookie Bettses and the Freddie Freemans and guys like that. And so all of a sudden, Will Smith, though amazing, being both a catcher and a 3-star, 4-star, whatever it is down the list, you can kind of get lost. Whereas if Will Smith was on the Pirates and all of a sudden, Brian Reynolds is really, really good, super good player, but maybe not somebody that people want to collect. O'Neal Cruz is injured. All of a sudden it's, Henry Davis or bust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I do believe in that theory. If there's too many stars when they already debuted, which, me, I'm not a big, it's tough to make money just because the movement isn't always there once the players are once they debut.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Will Smith is one, with the Dodgers. I do find I don't have any Will Smith. And now that I'm thinking about it, it is interesting because they will be a playoff team. Some of their players, their star players, will they be around in 3 years? Will Will Smith be a top, let's say, 10 NL MVP candidate, top 10 in the NL for the next, let's say, 4 or 5 years? I think if that's the case, that's how his prices move, but it's more of a longer play than I think it's more of a wait to the playoffs if he does something crazy.
So check this out. October 2020. Now, obviously, we're talking 2020 prices here, but still, $250.
Yeah. When did he debut?
June 3rd, 2023, $224.
Yeah.
And Will Smith in that time period. Let me pull up his stats real quick. Will Smith in that time period, between 2020 and 2023. So October of 2020, they're probably in the playoffs. Is that the year they won the World Series? They won 2020?
Won in 2021.
2021. All right. So in he ended 2020 with an 980 OPS, but obviously 37 games. COVID shortened the year. And then he had an 860 OPS, 807 OPS, and a 919 OPS this year. Wow. He was worth 3.3 wins above replacement, 4.1, 2.6 this year. So he's been a very good player. Maybe not a superstar, right? But he has been a very, very good player. And so it's interesting to see that, I can't decide if it's good that he's $25 lower than his first PSA 10 sale in 2020 that was during COVID, or like one of the first PSA 10 sales ever that was in 2020 during COVID, or if it's bad, but it is what it is. He's just a very similar price to what he was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that honestly, that is a lot better than a lot of guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But puts it in perspective. I thought it was an interesting comparison.
Yeah. Let's move on from Henry Davis and Will Smith. All right, so let's move on to Gavin Williams. He just got called up. It was announced, and he's pitching on Wednesday. So he hasn't pitched yet, as far as I know of this recording, but he will have pitched by the time you are watching this. So we don't know how he did. But the man got called up by the Guardians, and the man is good at
Yes, he is.
baseball. Just an absolute stud. He's 23 years old in AAA, and you can see, we'll get the Coors Light ad off the screen, and you can see here, AAA this year, 46 innings, almost a 12 K per nine, leaving 82% of guys on base, 40% ground ball rate, which is better than the previous two stops. 2.93 ERA. The fielding independent pitching doesn't agree. Expected fielding independent pitching a little bit better. There's other stats we could use if we had different websites up. We don't. But you know, having a 12 K per nine, the 4 walks is a little bit high. So there's concern. There's concern here, obviously. You can't be walking this many guys. You can't be giving up this many home runs. 1.17 home runs per 9 innings is a terrible mark. Terrible mark. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens here, because I really like Gavin Williams. He's a huge strikeout guy. The Guardians are great at developing pitching, and you have one of the best pitching prospects in baseball, but with a couple of, like, if he walks some guys but doesn't give up home runs, okay. If he doesn't walk too many guys and gives up a couple home runs, okay. A combination of the two is the way you kind of end up being like, oh man, he walked a guy, gave up a home run. All of a sudden, this 6-inning start that looks so good is now 2 earned runs on his ledger, and it goes that quick. And I know that because I watch Brewers pitchers do it quite a bit, where they're doing really well, and all of a sudden, it's just a real. Freddie Peralta just did this the other day. Walked a dude on a 3-2 count. And then Brian Reynolds comes up, fouls off some balls, and then hits a home run. And those are the only 2 runs he gave up. And so you kind of, I at least try to avoid, I would like guys that didn't have these qualities of high strikeouts and high walks and high home runs. At least have high strikeouts and pick one or the other 2. You give up some home runs, well, there are probably going to be a lot of solo shots. But if you walk some guys, there's tendency you get flustered. You leave a pitch up after having walked a guy that irritates you, and boom, gone.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if he gets down, I feel like he has some room on his strikeout rate. If he got down to that 8 to 9 range for the K per 9, and bring down that walk rate with that, maybe pitch to contact a little bit more, he's going to be. This dude's got the talent to be, I feel like, one of the top 10 pitchers in AL. I mean, I feel like that's pretty safe to say if everything pans out. But man, Cleveland, they just keep rolling these guys out. I don't know how they keep finding them. They got 3 this year. 3. How do they do that?
Yeah. So number one, going back to your quick point of you don't always have to strike guys out. I mean, you can see here his 60 fastball, 60 slider that Fangraphs gives him, 55 curveball, 45 changeup, 50 command. You can see here that you don't the 12 strikeouts per 9, and he did really well, in his brief 14 innings in Double-A. Obviously, you don't always have to strike everyone out, and I think pitchers learn that along the way. Where sometimes you need a rear back for a strikeout, you get guys on second and third less than 2 outs. Then yeah, you're probably going for a strikeout. But sometimes it's okay to just pitch to contact and try to get soft contact. Wade Miley has made a career on it of soft contact as opposed to strikeouts. He's now 36 years old, pitching really well for the Brewers. His extra is, indicators, FIP, DRA, whatever you want to use, don't paint a rosy picture, and yet he is a master at inducing weak contact, even if he's not striking guys out. But he also doesn't walk guys. And, I think as guys get older, they've learned the areas where they should be trying to strike guys out and areas where they should just be trying to get weak contact and not, giving up free passes constantly.
Exactly.
So Gavin leads me into, and we'll cover Gavin's prices in a little bit, but that leads me into another conversation here, and that is Shane Bieber. And so Shane Bieber, he is potentially going to get traded, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Guardians came out and said that they would like to trade him. They are not too far back of a playoff spot, but they aren't in first, and we're already getting close to July, which obviously you get the All-Star break, and then the trade deadline is at the end of July, and all of a sudden it's like, but they're only a game back. They're 34-38, which is not a good record, but first place in the AL Central is currently 36-38, which is embarrassing to say the least. But
that's pretty bad.
It really should be. We've got the Blue Jays 40-35. They're not going to make the playoffs if it stays this way. The Angels are 41-34. The Astros are 40-34. The Mariners are 35-36. The Red Sox are 39-35. All five teams in the AL East better than than the top team in the AL Central, and 4 of the 5 teams in the AL West are better than the top team in the Central. It's gotten to the point where it's like, man, maybe they just should make one rule this year where it's like we're doing a third wild card team. Whoever has the best wild card record gets the Twins spot or the Guardians spot, or the Tigers spot. Whoever wins it, because
it's brutal. It's brutal.
But Shane Bieber, I didn't realize I stopped on that. I meant to stop on this. So Bieber, they're only a game back, but they're looking to trade Bieber, and you can kind of see why. So he's 95 innings this year. K rate dropped like a rock from a couple years ago. Dropped like a rock last year. It has dropped even further this year. Walk rate has gone up pretty significantly from last year. Not as high as the previous 2 years, but he was striking way more guys out. And then you also have the home run rate, which is about what it was 2 years ago. And so you see that, and then you see, average fastball velocity has dropped, same as last year. And you see expected ERA, his FIP, his expected FIP, it's all significantly higher than his ERA. And you can kind of see, okay, fastball velocity drop, strikeouts have dropped, walks have raised, home runs have raised. You can kind of see why they would be willing to trade him, even if they're a game back, to see if they can finagle a team into giving him a little bit more than maybe is deserved because of the trade deadline, and then just replacing him with a Gavin Williams or somebody like that in the rotation, and hoping that Gavin is just a little bit better than what Shane Bieber has showed. Because Shane Bieber, the 3.51 ERA is good, but he's really pitched like a guy that's much worse than that.
Yeah. The biggest thing with him is, just like the Brewers, it's also the contract years coming up, where he's about to get very expensive, where Cleveland, they don't have a shortage of arms, which is a huge, benefit to them. One thing they struggle with is hitting. Wow. Their hitting is pretty bad. They are starting to heat up a little bit, but if they could trade a Shane Bieber and get an upgrade, let's say in the outfield or a catcher or something, where like the difference between replacing one of their offensive players compared to the replacement of a Gavin Williams to Shane Bieber, way more of a benefit, I feel like, towards that, to the offensive spot. Because their lineup, their rotation is set, because they have Cal Quintrell sitting there on rehab.
Injured, but there. Yeah. Tristan McKenzie injured, but there. Aaron Savale. They got some guys. I want to share with you the Cleveland Guardians 40-man roster real quick, if possible, so that we can look at that, because this will paint a better picture. So we got a 40-man roster here. Let's go to stats. And you can see the hitting stats. Mike Zunino got DFA'd. Josh Bell, their big offseason signing, 702 OPS, 98 OPS plus. The only two guys that are above that, Jose Ramirez, 137 OPS plus, and Josh Naylor, 115 OPS plus. Other than that, everyone else is below Josh Bell's 98 OPS plus, which is 2% worse than league average, and he was their big offseason signing. All these other guys, significantly worse. Ahmed Rosario, Andres Jimenez, a couple of big names from that Mets Lindor trade, doing really poorly. And then you have your bench, Gabriel Arias, former top prospect, 88 OPS plus. Oscar Gonzalez, hero of last postseason, 40 OPS plus. Tyler Freeman, former top prospect, 99 OPS plus. David Fry, Brian Rocchio, former top prospect. Bo Naylor, who just got called up 3 games. Obviously, you can't really make anything off of 3 and 4 games like these two guys, but still, there's outside of Jose Ramirez and even Josh Naylor, like a 115 OPS plus, that's nice to have. It's nice to put in your lineup, but if that's your second best hitter, you're real big trouble. And yet somehow they're only a game back of their division with this as their lineup.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they got another premium bat to put in there, or 2 for Shane Bieber, that'd be huge.
Yeah, it would be, because also, so Shane Bieber is also getting $10 million this year arbitration too, and then next year another arbitration year, and then he's a free agent after that. So right now you could get a lot of value for him, because it's like, hey, he's a rental for this year, but also you can get him next year. Hopefully he bounces back and has like that Cy Young year again on on his last contract year, quote unquote, like his, before he hits free agent. So maybe he pulls out something wild and gets some value, where even if they get one MLB player and let's say 2 prospects, I feel like that would be a huge win for them.
I agree. And real quick, just as an aside, on the if Shane Bieber's gone, right, regardless of what they get for him, for Gavin Williams, Shane Bieber's gone. Tristan McKenzie just got shut down for several weeks with UCL sprain, right? So he's gone for a while. Daniel Espino, their other top pitching prospect, out for the year with the Tommy John, right? So all of a sudden it could go from, looking really promising to looking rather bleak, but that's good for Gavin Williams, because if they trade Shane Bieber, they get a bat in, and all of a sudden Gavin Williams is kind of the focal point of that pitching staff. Logan Allen's there and stuff, but if Gavin Williams is the lead guy and maybe the ace that gets innings in the playoffs because he's the most talented arm they have, that could work wonders. If you had a Daniel Espino healthy, if you had a Tristan McKenzie healthy, if you had a Shane Bieber on your team and not traded, all of a sudden those guys are the guys that are the focal points of a rotation. Maybe not Daniel Espino, but 2 rookies at the same time. So if they can make the playoffs with trading Shane Bieber, this should line up to be pretty nice for Gavin Williams. And speaking of Williams, I did promise to cover his card prices. And so we can look at just a Topps Chrome Sapphire base here, Jimbo. Look at this. $20, $15. The last 2 sales on the 20th, 21st. June 8th, $8. June 5th, $7 rounding up. June 3rd, $8. $12. $8. $8. Yellow out of 99, $25. $8. So like, I don't buy a lot of non-auto pitching cards. A lot harder to get them to move up. He was still a really good player when these were $8, right? So it's hard to get them to move up because people don't care about pitching as much. So then, you go from, like, if you're a hitting prospect, the non-autos are a good way to get a premium card without paying a premium price, and people
Mm-hmm.
still like it. When you're a pitcher, it's like, well, people don't like pitching autos. They're going to like pitching non-auto cards way less,
Mm-hmm.
but you can still make good money, as you can see here, even from something as simple as a sapphire base.
And yeah, I love that you brought that up because, when we're talking, remember how we did the reviews on Sapphire last year and on Bowman? Like we always do product reviews. Like this is why another great example of like a Sapphire where it makes sense, where if you don't get a huge hit on a parallel or an auto, you hold on to their base and you sell them at the right time, like $20. How much was a box? Like that stuff adds up if you think about like
as long as you know you have it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the process of getting it, but that is interesting. It's $20 for Sapphire base.
And speaking of that, you know what I did this past week? I grabbed my Luis Arias's and I put them up for sale. And I sold 3 base paper and 2 base chrome, and I got $18 for them.
Oh, dude, I totally forgot to do that, and I'm out of town.
Well, oh, yeah, okay, that's not going to help. Dude, $18 for cards that were sitting in boxes for years. And at one point, somebody offered me on my base updates, and I was like, well, it's a little bit lower than what others are going for, or like half price. But then I was like, man, somebody's willing to buy these from me for $4 a card.
Yeah.
When they weren't worth 50 cents 6 months ago. Don't get greedy. Just take the money and go.
Yeah. That's the biggest, especially prospecting.
Yeah. So happy to have done that. Nice to know that, and I'd seen those cards for years in those, like if I didn't have them top loaded, I probably wouldn't have found them or known I had them.
Yeah.
But because I had them top loaded, and every single time I saw them top loaded, I was like, why in the world do I have these top loaded? But I never took them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You go.
One little thing I do to keep organized is the little team bags, plastic team bags.
Mm-hmm.
When I open, like, let's say I open something for myself or I get a lot of random stuff in, I will literally team bag them by the player. And that's how I do it. So I know they're all condensed. So when there's a call up, I can just
That's smart. Now, do you keep them in like sets? So like you open 2019 Topps Series 2, you have a 2019 Topps Series 2 box, or just 2019 box, or just labeled by player, and you just know Luis Arias, so you can go looking for it?
I just keep it by the box, by the sport in a box, and I don't mind going through them because also let's say I'm looking for Gavin Williams, when I'm looking through, I might find, oh, I didn't realize I had so much Henry Davis.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I had so much so-and-so.
That happened to me the other day. I'm looking for these Luis Arias's, and I stumble upon an Ellie De La Cruz Ray Wave, non-first Ray Wave that I completely forgot I owned.
Exactly.
Didn't know about it, and got $28 for it.
See? So that's what I started doing, and I don't get as much stuff in as I used to because I'm not, let's say opening a couple cases for myself. But when I was doing that, it's so nice to do that, and it's like therapeutic because I just like organizing them and getting them all sleeved up and getting them ready.
Mm-hmm. There is something very relaxing about cards.
There is,
and organizing them and like sorting a break and stuff. Sometimes sorting a break is a little bit long, but a lot of times it's very like, it's a little bit mind numbing, but it's also like you can just shut your brain off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it.
Which is kind of nice.
I love it.
All right, let's quickly move on. One last thing for today, and that is Yanquiel Fernandez, prospect of the week here. So Jimbo, take us away.
Yeah, so Yanquiel Hernandez. Nate brought him up last year during the release of Bowman. I think it was Bowman Chrome. I forget which one he was in.
I think it was Bowman Baseball.
Oh, Bowman Baseball. And
now don't quote me on that because I could be super wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Bowman Baseball.
I'm not confident in my answer as well. So I know it was sometime last year, but I remember Nate bringing him up, liked him a lot. This dude can hit. He's hitting every level. I saw something on Twitter a couple days ago. So when we were going to do this, I was like, hey, let's look at his stats. And then we pulled up his stats before this podcast. And this dude can hit and has been hitting. So he started off in, what was it? Well, in
A-ball this year.
A-ball this year, but only 3 games. So to me, that's irrelevant. But then he got sent up to high A. In 58 games, this dude had a 319 average. His slugging was 605. BABIP 332. I like that. ISO 286. K rate, which is always something to look at for a hitter like this. It was only at 17.9%, which that to me was the biggest red flag, or not red flag, but something to monitor for a hitter like this. Mm-hmm. Love that. And this dude hit 17 home runs in 58 games.
And he played in Spokane, and I didn't get to watch a single game of his.
Oh, man. I think you missed out on this guy, because I think we might.
I think Spokane Indians jacked up their prices to $29 a ticket, and there's no chance I'm paying that to go watch minor league baseball.
It's because they knew Fernandez was coming up.
That's true. And Adele Amador.
Yeah, that kid too. So it was interesting. In a 140 WRC plus, which I love the WRC plus. That to me, that validates stats, just because minor leagues are so confusing with the leagues and trying to figure out, are they hitter leagues or not. So across the board, very interesting. But then he got called up to AA in one game. He brought that power with him, hit a home run. He did strike out twice, but that's okay when you hit a home run. And he's only 20 years old.
Yeah.
He's an interesting one.
It's pretty incredible to watch. I remember I went to the Burbank Card Show in February, maybe. And I bought a Yanquiel Fernandez base auto. It wasn't that expensive. It might have been $15-20. Wish I still had it, but I think we sold it along the way, unfortunately. But would love to still have that one, because they are, like $50 right now. In the old going to Card Ladder here, you can check out. Is this the right one? Yeah. Whew. First try. So you've got a shimmer. $15 for just a shimmer, but a speckle auto PSA 9, $219 fixed price. Moving through purple auto, $200, which purple's nice because it is a color match there. Base auto, $50, June 20th. Base auto, $57, June 20th. Purple auto SGC 9.5, $235, which is pretty good, because $18 if you want to grade through SlabStox, SGC, SlabStox.com/grading. You can get your cards graded for $18 a card, and $200, $18 for $200 for the raw, $18 for the grade. That nets you an extra $17 on the sale, which isn't a ton, but it's SGC 9.5, not an SGC 10, so that's cool. There's just pretty good size prices being paid right now for Yanquiel cards. If I go back, let's see if I can do this easily. If I go back to January 1st, what do I want? If I go back to January 1st and check out the prices, $35. Okay, on auction January 1st. Can we find any more? $36. So maybe I didn't spend as little as I thought. Maybe it was a little bit more expensive than what I thought it was. But I didn't remember it being like 30 some bucks. So maybe I just got a deal on it at a card show. That being said, it still has gone up. I mean, January 1st, $35. This last one, $57. And we're talking base autos that got a lot printed in the last 2 years. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm shocked that it's actually not higher, if that was the starting point. Because
the Rockies.
Yeah, which I'm personally am always hesitant on anyone with Colorado. But with these numbers, though, like hitting 319, 17 home runs in 58 games at high A as a 20-year-old, like that's pretty. I thought that would bring more attention, but That's what's fun about prospecting.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what might bring the attention and what doesn't. And sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard to understand why things sell the way they do. But I don't complain because for every one thing that's been like, why didn't this sell better? You have Luis Arias base cards netting you like $4 a piece. So
Yeah.
I won't complain. Any last words today, Jimbo, before we sign off?
Nope. Just hope. Actually, yes, I do. I hope everyone has a great summer. Get outside, enjoy it, watch some baseball, have a good time, hang out with the family, and that's it.
I
That's
agree.
all I got.
Hang out with the family. That's what I'm doing these next couple of weeks. That's what Jimbo's doing. So always a
Mhm.
good time. And enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. And we will talk to you next Friday.
Deuces.